I have done it. I have played, beaten, and reviewed every Mega Man X series game. I feel like this is the speech you give after you win the Super Bowl or something. It's quite the accomplishment, I guess. So it's taken me a couple years to get through this whole series, and it's taken me about 3 to review all the classic series games and then now all the X series games. And I think I have a little bit of a different perspective on the X series games because it took me more time to get through that series because life just got more busy. And so now doing this ranking list, ranking all the Mega Man X series games, I've had more time to stew on it than I did the classic series. And so I think actually I have a pretty good perspective on the X series games, and I'm excited to rank them and see what you all think. So as I do this video, please just let me know in the comments how you feel, how you would rank the X series, what you think. I would love to have that dialogue with you guys and talk about the X series. I think there is one flaming hot take that might make some people angry with me. Other than that, I don't expect this list to be too controversial. So, with that being said, let's get into the Mega Man X series ranked, starting with number 8, Mega Man X7. I think this is unarguably the worst Mega Man game, at least the worst Mega Man game with any kind of prestige. There's probably some spin-off mobile game that is worse than Mega Man X7, but Mega Man X7 is a game in the X series. It's a AAA PlayStation 2 big release for the Mega Man series, and it's in many ways the end of the Mega Man series as it was. This is where the Mega Man series began to be just somewhat ignored by the mainstream gaming consciousness, and Mega Man X7 is truly that bad. It has awful controls and awful camera, and that's the key, that's the foundation of its awfulness. Movement feels sluggish and bad, attacking enemies just doesn't work either with the auto aim or with Zero's Z-Saber, and the camera is bizarre. It locks into some of the most insane camera angles I've ever seen. It's worse than the camera angles in like a survival horror game. Mega Man X7 is just not fun to play from beginning to end. There's no good music, there's no good story, there's nothing positive to this game. Playing it was just totally awful. And as I rank these games and I think about the games that I'd want to revisit in the future, Mega Man X7 is at the bottom of the list for every Mega Man game I've played. I have no interest in playing it again. I feel like I understand it well enough to just completely move on from it and forget about it. And I do want to mention, because I'll unpack this more as I go through more Mega Man X series games, the vibe of a Mega Man game is very important to me. I think that the Mega Man games have a specific vibe. There's something kind of hard to explain about it, but if you know, you know. Some of these games have great music, they have great art, that's just very Capcom, if that makes sense. And Mega Man X7 has none of that charm. There's no vibe to it, there's nothing about it that's pleasant. There's just nothing that I find appealing about Mega Man X7, and I don't think I'm alone in that. I think most people agree that Mega Man X7 is the worst game in the Mega Man X series. So now, number 7, Mega Man X8. I think a lot of you guys can see that hot take coming, but let me unpack Mega Man X8 first. So Mega Man X8 is not an awful game. There are some things about the game that I really like. I like the music, I really like the graphics. It actually grew on me. That low poly Dreamcast style looks really cool. It's not cel shaded, and it's not super glossy PS2 Resident Evil 4 style. To me it looks like a Dreamcast game. The music is also very cool. There's some standout tracks. It has a lot of guitar in it, and in a lot of ways it feels like the power metal soundtrack that the X series always wanted. And the character portraits, particularly X and Zero, I think look really cool. The new art style from the Breath of Fire artist looks really cool in this game. Now, there are some serious problems with this game. One is that it is bloated. There is just so much dialogue, there's so much going on. There's an item shop that just feels like this abyss of menus, and you have to use the item shop over and over in this game because you have to use it to buy extra lives and to get new E-tanks. You also wind up picking your character, your backup character, and an operator in between every level. So again, just menus on menus on menus. Then the worst part about this game is the level design. The problem is that when you actually just play the levels and break down what you're doing, moving from A to B, these are just not a very fun batch of levels. There's multiple levels with big rail sections. There's multiple levels where you're kind of locked in place waiting for things to happen. There's a lot of moments where the camera swings around and it doesn't work. It's not a great effect. The 2.5D gameplay can be good sometimes, but in this game it's almost always annoying. There's a particular fight where you have to fight this giant robot and knock the crane into him and hurt him. And so this game just ultimately just doesn't really work for me from a gameplay standpoint. I didn't like all the menus, I didn't like all the bloated features in the game, and then I didn't like the actual levels themselves. Playing through them was just not very fun. And even just basic things like enemy placement and platforming just are not present in this game in the way that I would like in a Mega Man game. And I know this game has its fans. I know that the D-Make is apparently incredible. I've never played it, but the D-Make seems to have more fans than the actual game Mega Man X8. I think there is a lot to like about this game, and I may at one point in the future decide to revisit it, but if Mega Man X7 is a never revisit, Mega Man X8 is a probably never revisit. Now the vibe here at times is pretty good, but it's also pretty different. There's a lot of different kind of things going on in Mega Man X8 that set it apart, and not always in a good way. So ultimately, Mega Man X8, this is kind of leading to my hot take that I think Mega Man X series fans see coming now, is that Mega Man X8 is ultimately just not one of my favorite X series games. I think there's a lot of good qualities about it, but ultimately the level design and the gameplay is just not there for me. Now at number 6, we have Mega Man X6. Now, I just said Mega Man X8 is not an awful game. Mega Man X6 is an awful game, and I love it. And I don't think I'm the only person here who loves it. If you go back and watch my review, there's a lot of frustration in the review, but time kind of heals all wounds. And as I really think about Mega Man X6, I think about the vibe, the music, the art direction. I mean, just look at this and just listen to this. You have this Aztec ancient world with this cool moon in the sky. You have this weird sci-fi 2000s museum that you're in. There's just so many cool locations in this game, and there's so much wonderful music, and it's just that perfect late PlayStation 1 cheap cyberpunk kind of, maybe not cyberpunk, but sci-fi vibe that just hits just right for me. I love the vibe of this game. Now, playing it is hard. There's a lot of problems with the gameplay. There's a lot of situations that this game puts you in where the gameplay is rough. There's moments of blind jumps, and there are moments where the enemy placement is just ruthless, where trying to get through and not take hits just feels basically impossible. And the biggest problem with this game is that there are these Reploids that you need to rescue, and rescuing them improves your stats, and this is never explained well. There are guides online where people explain it differently than other guides. There are people in the comments of my video who have told me things that I've missed about this Reploid rescue system. It's a very obtuse, complex system, and you need to do it to get your character good enough to finish the game. There's a point where there is a jump against a spike wall, and if you haven't improved your stats enough to make it over that jump, you're just stuck. And it is one of the most frustrating moments in any Mega Man game that I've encountered. That being said, moment to moment, the gameplay in this game is still kind of fun. If you start a new game and just start playing through it, you're gonna have fun. You're gonna see some fun moments. You're also gonna hear some awesome music. You're gonna see some awesome sprite art. It's just got the right vibe for me. I know that's a flaming hot take. I know it's crazy to say that Mega Man X6 is better than Mega Man X8, but that's just how I feel. And when I think about revisiting the X series and playing a game again, I would way rather play Mega Man X6 over Mega Man X8. So that's just where I gotta put it. Next up at number 5, we have Mega Man X5. I will admit that I have some serious nostalgia for this game. I rented it when it came out, and it was just that time. It's hard to explain. I had a PS1, like the little one that I'd just gotten for Christmas. Toonami was maybe at the height of its popularity amongst me and my friends. And Mega Man X5 has this awesome story. A little bit of spoiler alerts for Mega Man X5. There is a space colony that's gonna crash into Earth, and you have to go to the different robot bosses and get things to build a rocket to go stop the space colony from hitting the Earth. It's a really cool storyline that just grabbed me as a kid, and it still grabs me as an adult. And it's kind of political and interesting because you realize that these robot bosses don't really trust X or the Maverick Hunters, which why would they at this point in the story? You know, X and the Maverick Hunters have a lot of blood on their hand at this point. And it just feels like Mega Man X meets Gundam Wing. Even Gundam Wing had a story where a space colony is going to crash into Earth, and that was on Cartoon Network at the time, and it's just right. I just love the storyline of this game. It just feels Like if you took a 90s or early 2000s shonen anime and made it into a Mega Man game, it would be Mega Man X5. The music is decent, the sprite art is decent. It's not as good as Mega Man X4. It definitely, where you see like that lower budget, that lower quality is here in Mega Man X5. The levels are not as well balanced as X4 or some of the other great Mega Man X series games. And overall, it's not that like peak of quality. Like you can tell they're a little rushed and had a little less money, but it's just a cool storyline. You also, again, spoiler alert, see kind of the culmination of the Zero and X arc. Like, is Zero going to turn evil? Is X going to have to fight him? And you kind of get to see that play out in this game in an exciting way. It's not as epic as you might hope, especially considering that earlier in the X series there are way more epic moments than how it pans out in X5. But it's still pretty cool, pretty exciting. You get the Dr. Wily logo in the background at one point, kind of like, whoa, yeah, it's, you know, confirmed, even though it's kind of confirmed in Mega Man X4. And the Power Fighting games as well showed Dr. Wily, kind of really showing us this connection between Dr. Wily and Zero. But it's just a cool game with a cool storyline and fun to play through. It's straightforward. It doesn't have any major game-breaking, horrible design moments like Mega Man X6, and it has way better levels than Mega Man X8. And so Mega Man X5 to me, I think is a classic game. It's really good. I would like to play it again at some point in my life, just to experience the storyline. It's not the greatest conclusion to the X and Zero drama that could have been, and the bummer is that it's not the conclusion because they went on to make more X series games that are all worse than this one. I think at the time though they were intending for this to be the end of the X series, and if it had been the end of the X series, it would have been a pretty good end. It would have been a pretty good way to wrap up the PlayStation 1 era and move on, but that's not what happened, and it is what it is. So I'd say Mega Man X5 is a good game, and I like it, and I'll probably revisit it at some point in my life. Now, at number 4, we have Mega Man X3. Mega Man X3 is an interesting game because I think it is a major downstep from the previous X series games, but it's still a solid classic game. There's a lot of cool stuff going on in this game. This game has the most exploration of the first 3 X series games. There's just a lot of stuff to find, a lot of places to look, a lot of cool stuff to get Mega Man to be able to do. There's also some kind of cool flair to Mega Man's animation and abilities in this game. Notably, like when you charge up the power shot all the way, he shoots this really cool energy blast that like goes behind him and then forward. And that's kind of also emblematic of the problem with X6, is that the shot takes longer to accelerate out and hit the enemies. So ultimately that supercharged shot is not as good as the regular charged shot. And that's kind of all of Mega Man X3. It's cool, there's a lot to like about it, but it's a little sloppy. There's just some sloppy moments. There are moments where you're moving through the game and it's just kind of empty, and you're like, what's going on here? The music is dark and somber and just a little bit draining after a while. It's not the best soundtrack, it's not the best vibe, and when you learn more about the game, you realize it was made by a different team of developers. It wasn't made by Capcom, it was contracted out. It's also the first Mega Man X series game to be multi-platform. I think it might be the first Mega Man game actually that came out was multi-platform around its launch. This one came out on Super Nintendo, Sega Saturn, and PlayStation 1, if you consider the worldwide releases. And so that sloppiness, that kind of just not as good of a vibe, kind of just makes this game not as good as the X series games that come before it, but there's still a lot of that great snappy, fast-paced X series combat and platforming, and there's also a lot of great exploration, so there's a lot of fun to be had in here. The double jump in this game is kind of rough. You earn a double jump in this game, and the timing of it is just kind of weird, and I never got used to it. Also, there is the fight against Sigma at the end, and there's the one form that he has where his head gets small, and it's just so stinking hard to hit that sprite. It is an extremely frustrating final boss. It reminds me of the final boss of Mega Man 7. It's just like, wow, I was liking this game and I was having a good time, and then that final boss is just like, geez, it is rough. After you beat him, there's like fire rising up, and again, the timing of the jump to get out of there is just tricky. Frustratingly so. It's a very frustrating end to the game. But that being said, Mega Man X3's got a lot going for it. A lot of great exploration, great combat, great platforming, and it's a great game. And I would like to revisit it. It's a fun one. Now, before we get to the top 3 Mega Man X series games, I do want to mention, if you'd like to support my channel, I am developing my own indie game called Ogre Man. It is inspired by my experience of playing and reviewing all of these Mega Man games, the Classic Series and the X Series, and I am really excited to share it with you all. There is a playable demo in the description. You can play the demo in the browser on itch.io, no download necessary. If you like it, please consider heading over to Steam and wishlisting the game. There's a link in the description here for the Steam page. So please check out Ogre Man, please support the channel. I would really appreciate it. You can just play it in the browser, and if you don't like it, don't worry about it, but if you do like it, please wishlist the game on Steam. Thank you so much for watching the video, and let's get to the final 3 Mega Man X series games. Number 3, Mega Man X2. So I'm gonna start with the things that don't really work about Mega Man X2. So, Mega Man X2 has some pacing issues. It has some boss fights where you are stuck, whether you're waiting for the alligator to swim through the oil, or waiting for the snail to rotate, or waiting for the ostrich to jump back into the screen from the background. There's moments where the game's pacing just kind of slows down, and especially coming from Mega Man X1, which is just one of the most snappy, fast-paced games ever, this is not a good thing. Then also, depending on how you want to play through the game, there are these 3 optional bosses that have like the parts of Zero that are moving around the map. So you pick a different Maverick to go fight, and if they are at that location, you can have this optional battle. This again messes with the pacing because a lot of Mega Man fans, myself included, really like the routing aspect of the Mega Man games. Picking the order of your progression through the levels is really exciting, and doing it right makes you feel really accomplished, like you're putting together a puzzle and then just like going through the game. And these guys moving around the levels really disrupts it because it's seemingly random, so you might have to hop back and forth between levels, or go to a level and do something and then get a game over on purpose or something to get out of the level. It's just not the best or most ideal way to do that classic Mega Man experience. Now, that being said, Mega Man X2 is awesome, and those negative things, once you accept them, I think actually make Mega Man X2 positive. They make the game better. Mega Man X2 is more cinematic than Mega Man X1, and the boss fights have a sense of anticipation and a sense of drama to them. So it's not as snappy, it's not as ideal in terms of its immediate gameplay and combat, but the vibe is awesome. The alligator guy is almost like a horror fight. I remember being super freaked out as a kid with this fight. The ostrich fight is epic. You blow up a rocket, and then the ostrich is jumping onto the screen and you're fighting him, and he's like super fast and he's all over the place. These are epic anime style fights, and once you accept that the pacing of this game is just not as good as X1, it is an awesome game. It's just got a different style to it. It's meant for you to kind of slow down and take it in. There's more exploration in this game, and so going from level to level is meant to be a bit of a more exploratory experience. Also, this game has the best map of any of the Mega Man games, that as you move around the map, it feels like real locations, like you're really looking at a world. And then when you go to fight Sigma, the map moves up to his location to where he's at. It's really cool, it's really dynamic, and there's just a lot of cool stuff going on with this map. It's again meant to make you feel like a real place. So these optional bosses that have the parts of Zero are moving around a real world like real characters. It's really cool. I really liked this game, and I again will acknowledge that the pacing issue is there, and people are right about that. But once you accept that the pacing's not as good as Mega Man X1, which is debatably the best paced game ever made, this game has its own thing going for it that really works. And then that brings me to the best and worst part of Mega Man X2, the Zero fight. If you play the game the way that the game implies that you should, you will beat all these optional bosses, you will get the parts of Zero, and you will skip the Zero fight. Which is unfortunate because the Zero fight is the best boss fight of any Mega Man game. I will go to bat for this fight. This fight is so epic. Zero slams X so hard, he's like just coming at you ready to fight super hard. The ground is breaking. It is awesome. The music is awesome. It's super fast paced, super hard, and it is one of the best boss fights I've ever played in any game. It might be the best boss fight I've ever played in any game. So if you play Mega Man X1 and then you go to X2 in order like that, this fight is so epic because in X1, Zero saves X twice. But now in X2, X is fighting Zero, and it's crazy. It is so fast-paced, it's so epic, the music is so cool, the fight is so cool, and it's the best part of Mega Man X2. Unfortunately, if you play Mega Man X2 the way that they imply that you should, get all the parts of Zero, you won't have this fight. So that's kind of frustrating. It's kind of weird. It's kind of weird design. It almost makes me feel like they should have trimmed the fat a little bit and refocused this game a little bit to make sure that that fight happens no matter what, because it is the best part of the game. And it's just very cinematic and exciting that X has really grown to this point where he can fight Zero and beat him, and it's awesome. So Mega Man X2 is awesome. I love this game. I think that that boss fight against Zero is beyond epic. I do think it has some pacing issues, but once you accept them, you realize that they're trying to create a fully lived-in, breathed-in world with a lot of cinematic moments, and it's awesome. Mega Man X2 is awesome. I love it. Number 2, Mega Man X4. So Mega Man X4, I think, is the most underrated game in the Mega Man series. I think it's probably the most underrated PlayStation 1 game. The problem with Mega Man X4 is that it released into its own oversaturated series in terms of beautiful sprite art Mega Man games. Mega Man 8 came out so close to it, and so people were probably distracted by that. In terms of modern Mega Man games, people were distracted by Mega Man Legends, which was more in line with the times in terms of its style and presentation. And then if people wanted a 2D sprite-based game on PlayStation 1 that had its roots on the NES, those people were probably playing Castlevania Symphony of the Night. And so Mega Man X4 seemed just kind of forgotten. And that's too bad, because Mega Man X4 is awesome. Everything I've said about X3 and X2, that there's a lot of exploration, that's gone. Mega Man X4 is not an exploration game. Mega Man X4 is balanced around being an action combat platforming game. And this game has you pick Zero and X at the very beginning, and then you play through the whole game as whichever one you picked. And when I first played this game, I didn't like that, but now upon really reflecting on the series as a whole and playing other games in the X series that do this differently, I think this design decision is beautiful, because the game is balanced around both of the characters. It's probably some of the best level design I've ever seen in my entire life. The levels are just dense with really serious moments where you're gonna have to fight your way past the enemies and do some really tricky platforming, and both Zero and X are fully developed as characters with their own move list, their own abilities, and the way that you approach the challenges as Zero and as X is completely different. It's brilliant. They somehow took these levels that are essentially the same on both playthrough and make them feel completely fresh and exciting as both Zero and X. If this game was just Mega Man X4 Zero and you only had Zero, you'd be like, this is a full game. This is totally awesome. And if this game was Mega Man X4 and you just had X, no playing as Zero, you would still be like, this is a full game. This is awesome. Because they're both so different, they're both so dynamic. Zero winds up learning all these different sword slash moves, which is quite a bit different than X, who learns these different ways of shooting enemies from defeating the Mavericks. But either way, it just comes together and is super epic, super awesome. Again, these levels eliminate the exploration stuff for the most part, which makes sense because the intention is that you'll play them twice. So exploring and having a bunch of meandering moments really wouldn't work as well twice. So playing this game is just super exciting. The fighting is super fun. The boss fights are super fun. In terms of like a batch of boss fights, like all of them together, it is probably the best batch of boss fights. I really like fighting the Colonel, and I really like Magma Dragoon, who's kind of like a Street Fighter character when you fight him, and his fight even has multiple approaches. You can sneak in a ride armor. It's just super creative, super fun, super fast-paced, an awesome action combat game. They also made an interesting design decision that you can only get 2 energy tanks, which again just forces you to get good. And sometimes I don't like to get good, but sometimes I like to get good. And when I played Mega Man X4, I liked getting good. It was fun. So Mega Man X4, I think, is really underrated. It is very different in terms of the way the game handles exploration and character selection, and I think it's awesome. I think it's a really cool game. It kind of has an arcade vibe when at the beginning you're seeing X and Zero in those big sprites and you're picking which one you're going to play as, and it feels like an arcade game. You're picking your character and you're off to the races, and it's a fast-paced game. It's not overly long, but yeah, I really like it. I also want to mention the storyline. The storyline in this game is super tragic. There's political intrigue with the Repliforce and the Maverick Hunters, and Sigma working in the shadows to turn them against each other. And the Maverick Hunters are not totally good in this game. They're kind of trigger happy and ready to just take over everything. And then the Repliforce is prideful and doesn't want to be told what to do. And there's a very tragic betrayal in this game if you play as Zero. The infamous "what am I fighting for" moment happens in this game. And also the sprite art is awesome. It has the most crisp, great sprite art and animations of the whole X series. It looks really good. The music in this game is not as catchy as some of the best Mega Man X music, but the music in the series is more somber, more serious, and it works. It really works for this game. So overall, Mega Man X4 is awesome. I really like it. I recommend it. It seems to be a little bit more ignored of the X series in the Mega Man games, which is a shame because it's one of the best. Number 1, Mega Man X1. Now, I don't think this is a hot take. I don't think anybody is surprised. The hard thing about playing through the X series is that if you play Mega Man X1 at the beginning, you've probably played the best one, and that is what it is. Mega Man X1 is a masterclass in pacing. This game is paced perfectly. They somehow set it up to where you essentially can play the levels in any order you want, beyond Chill Penguin. You really got to do Chill Penguin first. And then you're not bored of backtracking because the levels are so fast and so snappy, and X controls so perfectly, and the music is so awesome, and the levels even affect each other based on the order that you beat them in, so it's kind of exciting to go back to them. They make the game just feel constantly fun. It also has some of the most interesting boss reactions to being shot by their weakness, like when you use the ice weapon against the electric guy and he's like frozen, or shooting the armadillo with the electric weapon. It's really cool. Everything just is kind of woven together. There's no stone left unturned. There's no detail missed. They just really intricately wove this game together, and it's just very concise. There's not a boring moment. There's not a boring level. There's not a boring fight. There's nothing about it that's bad. There's no bad auto-scrolling levels. There's no bad pacing where you're waiting around for things to happen. The game is as fast as you are playing through it. And you might not want to go too fast because there's also just some beautiful moments in this game. The sprite art in this game is definitely old school, but they nailed it. It really doesn't get better in terms of this style. It just is basically perfect in the way that it looks. There's just a great setting with the highway at the beginning. It's iconic, the highway falling apart, and really intuitively teaching you how you can kick up the walls. And these are things that we take for granted, I think, because Mega Man X1 has just been a classic that we've all played and been used to for 30 years now or something like that. But there's so many great design decisions they made in this game. Also, the storyline is simple but concise and effective. It really works. With Vile and Zero and X and Sigma, it just feels intense, it feels dark, especially coming from the classic series to the X series. It just hits right. It's basically a perfect game. It's hard to imagine how Mega Man X1 could be better than it is. It's a masterclass in pacing, it's a masterclass in game design, it's a masterclass in difficulty, balancing, and exploration, and hiding secrets. And it probably is the best secret in the X series with the Hadouken. So I would say Mega Man X1 is the best Mega Man X series game. It is one of the best Mega Man games. It's a contender for the best Mega Man game, and contender for the best Super Nintendo game. It's contender for the best game. Mega Man X1 is that good. It's really, really, really good. So that's my list of the Mega Man X series ranked. I would love to see your lists down below. I'd love to see your comments down below. Let me know. Please check out Ogre Man if you want to support the channel. I'd really appreciate it. Thanks y'all for hanging in there with me and watching all these Mega Man reviews that I've done over the last few years. There are more planned. Life gets busy and I'm trying to develop a game, so it might be a little bit of a wait. We'll see what happens. Thank you guys so much. Take care, and I'll talk to you all soon. Thanks, bye.